Have you read this book, Crucial Conversations? If not, definitely check it out. But this video is to share my top 3 takeaways and why I recommend this book. Hi, my name is Jovita. Thanks for visiting Grow with Jovita, where I share tips on your professional growth to help advance your career. Crucial conversations are important and just something we can't avoid in life. Definitely check out my other videos on why they're important and how you can master them. Look, as much as we want to, we can't avoid crucial conversations. They're going to happen whether we're prepared for them or not. Definitely check out my resources. I'll drop in the comments on the 4 steps in successfully handling a crucial conversation, as well as my videos on why they're important and how to pinpoint what makes them difficult for you so that you can address those properly. Okay, so let's talk about this book, Crucial Conversations. It's definitely a good one to help illustrate what they mean, what crucial conversations actually are, how to navigate them, and what you can do to set yourself up for success. Crucial conversations are those high impact conversations. They are where people might disagree or where the results and stakes are very high. So again, these are things that happen in our everyday life, but most importantly in your career. If you don't handle crucial conversations correctly, this can really be a career staller for you. So you want to make sure you're navigating them correctly. So my first big takeaway from this book is I love how they explain and walk you through how to handle the crucial conversation part when people are not actually saying what they really mean. This happens all the time where what somebody says isn't actually what they really mean. This is why communication and EQ skills are so important. So here's what I mean as an example. So let's say you're talking to a coworker and you are training them on something, and they might not understand what your expectations are or how to actually perform that function, but they're not going to say that to you. This actually happens a lot in the work environment, especially when you're dealing with new hires. So whether you're the manager or you're just a team member who's helping train a new hire, this is something you need to pay attention to a lot when you're training somebody. Most of the time, people don't want to admit that they don't understand something, especially when they're new in a job and they want to prove themselves. So you really have to make sure that you're asking questions in a way that are not biased and are not making them feel like they can't tell you when they don't understand. So one thing people like to say, and this is like a mistake that you shouldn't say, is like, does this make sense? A lot of times when we're training or we're giving explanations, we'll say, oh, hey, this is what you should do. Does that make sense? This is not a great question because nobody wants to admit, no, this doesn't make sense to me. It makes them feel stupid. So one thing to do to change that is maybe ask them to repeat the things back to you. So if you're asking them to do something or giving them instructions, ask them to repeat it back to you to make sure that things are clear. That way they don't have to feel like they have to point out or highlight that they don't understand something. And then you don't get that situation where they're not really telling you the truth about how they really feel. What ends up happening if you don't do this is later down the line when they don't do the thing correctly, like if they don't complete the task properly or the project properly, they're just going to say, oh, I wasn't trained on that, or I didn't understand how to do that. And then the trainer is going to be frustrated because in your mind, you're like, I did show you that. Like I did already show you that. And this is how those disconnects can happen. So you want to make sure, like I said, don't ask questions in a way when you're training new hires that makes them feel like they can't tell you the truth of what they really understand and how they feel. Another takeaway I love from this book is what he calls the don't intend statement. So a lot of times we've all experienced, a lot of times we have that miscommunication where what we intend to say is not what the other person interprets. And it could be for a variety of reasons. Maybe the way that we're communicating is not clear enough, our tone, our nonverbals, which make up more than 60% of how communication is received. But it also could be that the other person just has other things going on that are interrupting and distracting them, that noise that gets in the way of them interpreting the message the way we intended. So what the author suggests to do is start off your sentences when you think that's going to happen by saying, I don't intend something. So for example, if you need to give feedback to a coworker, you can start off the conversation by saying like, hey, I don't intend to put you on the spot, but I do need to ask you about something that you did on this account because I'm a little bit confused as to how this happened. It looks like maybe a mistake was made, but I don't really understand it, right? Or let's say you have to set boundaries at work and you need to tell your boss like, no, I can't take on these additional responsibilities, right? That is a hard one for people because you feel like, if I say no, is that going to make me look bad as an employee? So you can use this don't intend method to help. So for example, I don't intend not to be a team player. I really value the growth opportunities that you're giving me at work, but I'm not able to take on this additional responsibility right now. Can we discuss something later in the future, right? So that's just an example of starting off the conversation in that don't intend way. It's going to keep the other person open-minded. They won't get defensive, and hopefully they won't misinterpret the message that you're trying to give. The final takeaway that I love from this book is just talking about the safety that people want to feel in conversations. When we think about having conversations with people, I don't know that we're always thinking of the word safety, right? We talk a lot about misinterpretation and trust and credibility, and those things are important. But safety is also important in the sense of, if you want somebody to be vulnerable with you, if you want somebody to tell you the truth of how they're feeling, if you want them to be open-minded to what you're saying, they have to have a sense of safety in the conversation. So what that means is you need to be approachable in how you are talking to them, and that you're giving them the space for them to be who they are and communicate the way they need to. This is a good highlight of why you really need to tap into your communication skills, because everybody has a different communication style, everybody thinks differently, and you really need to understand how to adjust your communication approach in the middle of a conversation if you notice social cues that the person is not feeling safe. So what do I mean by social cues? Well, people might shut down, right? Like if you see somebody start to shut down in the middle of a conversation, that could be a sign that they are not feeling safe in the approach that you're giving them, right? So they might lean back and give body language that they're no longer listening. They might look away and no longer make eye contact, or start playing with their phone and trying to do something else. Or they might just give you short, quick answers and just want the conversation to be over, right? So typically when that is happening, it's because they are no longer feeling safe in this conversation. And now you're leaving the place of trust and credibility and safety to where you can collaborate and come to a positive result of this conversation. You might have to take a break and say like, you know what, let's loop back on this later so that you can regroup and get your mind right, and hopefully that other person can do the same. Overall, I really love this book, Crucial Conversations, and I definitely recommend it for anyone who's trying to improve their skills, especially in the workplace. Whether you're managing people or not, you do need to be able to work with people if you want to advance your career. Good luck. Let me know how it goes.